Thank you for tuning into the Generational Gauntlet Top 5 Faves. This is the podcast where we give you our top 5 on a topic with a generational twist to it. My name is Matt Lambert, and I'm the host of this podcast. Each week, I bring in a guest who's from a different generation than me to discuss or debate our top 5 on a selected topic. At the end of every episode, I include an email address where people can send suggestions. That email is generationalfave5@gmail.com. Sometimes, in addition to topics, I receive suggestions for a guest to make an appearance. And today, that is exactly the type of guest that we have. Someone reached out to me and said Ben Stratton, a fellow millennial, was a huge fan of top 5 lists, a huge fan of board games, and an overall great dude. So that's our guest for today. And our topic is our top 5 favorite board games. So with that, Ben, welcome in. Thank you for joining us this evening. How are you doing?
Thanks, man. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm doing great.
Well, man, I have to ask. You've got some street cred from the person that suggested you. So it's my understanding you're a guy that likes to maybe rank things or debate lists. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm very flattered. I'm just a fan of like all things geek, all things film, art, literature. But yeah, board games is one of the big ones. So I've
Well,
played literally hundreds over the years, and I've made a top 100 list before on my
oh wow.
blog, and I love it. Love making lists.
Okay, well, you mentioned a blog. You want to put a plug in here for your blog real quick?
Sure, yeah, it's Benjamin's boardgameblog.com. Not as accurate, life is crazy recently, but that's where you'll find the top 100 lists and a few other highlights as I come across them.
Well, Ben, you just gave yourself even more than just street cred. That's like legitimacy. I mean, you got a blog where you're talking
I have a
about
blog,
this.
yeah.
You may have already hit it with the fact that you've got a blog. You've ranked the top 100 list before. Any other reasons you think your reputation precedes you when it comes to your board game prowess?
No, just being a fan, and I love introducing board games and teaching them to people, especially ones who are maybe only familiar with, the monopolies of the world. So there's just a
Okay.
a wide world of board games. I really think that there's a board game for everyone. I think if you meet games in the middle where their spirit is, then it kind of allows you to be able to enjoy a game like Yahtzee with your old auntie just as much as, some big heavy strategy game with really competitive people. So, yep, I just love introducing people to games.
Well, I'm curious. When we get to our lists here in a bit, you might judge mine because mine might be more of the more commonly known board games, and I'll be really excited to see what makes your list. And I have to tell
Well,
you, Ben, on my calendar, I keep a calendar of episodes, and you've been listed on my calendar as Board Game Ben. So that is what you're known by in my house right now. The calendar I have, Board Game Ben is your name. And I feel like I cut you off, man. I apologize. You're about to say something.
no, I'll take that. Henceforth, I'll be known as that. I like it.
All right. Well, for any first time listeners to the episode, here's how the podcast works. Ben and I have each put together our own list for our top 5 favorite board games. I have not seen his top 100 list, so I don't know if he follows suit with that. I don't know a thing about his list today, and he doesn't know anything about mine. So he'll kick things off with his number 5 and why. I'll then give my number 5 and why, and we'll continue in that fashion until we get to each of our number 1s. So with that, Board Game Ben, I'm going to hand it over to you. What is your number 5 favorite board game and why?
Okay, well, number 5 for me is a game called King of Tokyo. So this
I have
one you
never
can
heard of that.
find. Okay, well, good, good. This one actually is easy to find for the most part if you look in Target or other places, but in
Okay.
this game, you are giant monsters, or kaiju in case you aren't up on, like, the geeky terminology for it,
Okay.
but you are attacking Tokyo and each other to try to be the last monster standing or to gain the most victory points. This is one that we've gifted to several families with kids
Mhm.
over the years just 'cause it's pretty light and accessible, but it's still a knockout every single time that I've played it, that I've introduced it. Like, I've never played King of Tokyo and walked away, disappointed. But it's a fast-paced, crazy, action-filled family game. So I feel like teaching this one is a breeze because the main part of your turn is basically the same as Yahtzee. You roll the dice and you get up to 2 rerolls. You attack if you roll claws, you roll numbers, and that's another way to get points. You hearts heal you, of course, and then you also roll lightning bolts, which give you energy, which can be used to purchase these really cool upgrade cards for your
Okay.
monsters. And so you also gain points the longer you're able to survive inside Tokyo. But the catch is that you cannot heal yourself while you're inside the city. And so if you're ever damaged so much that you want to yield the city, you have to step out and the person who attacked you goes in. And if your health ever gets to zero, then you're out. And so it's
Okay.
whoever's the last monster standing, or sometimes you get like sneaky Chad over here who's just getting points, and he's getting close to 20. And then he kind of surprises you with winning the game that way. So it's kind of cool that there's two different avenues to victory. But yeah, just strictly going by fun factor, I think King of Tokyo is king. I
Now,
love it.
is this King of Tokyo? So I'm looking at the box right here. I've got it pulled up on my
Mhm.
phone. I'm assuming they've modeled this after like maybe like Godzilla is supposed to be kind of like in the make of one of the characters you could be. Maybe is this like
Oh
King
yeah.
Kong is another?
Oh yes. Yeah. Both of those are represented.
Okay.
But they've added a lot of other monsters that are cool and
Okay.
unique too.
Well, this is one I had not heard of. I'm gonna have to check this thing out. So, board games are a big thing in my house as well. I do have one honorable mention I have to give before my number five. So, my honorable mention is Risk. And I'm talking the
Mhm.
strategic conquest board game where you try to dominate the world by occupying all the territories. I love this game so much that for I think it was my 38th birthday, that's what I did with my wife and daughter. Is we had some cake, we sat down and we played Risk like a bunch of nerds, and that was my 38th birthday. So that's my honorable mention. I'm going to tell you my number five, and it is probably the most generic number five of all time. And I'm going with the OG game for my number five, and it's Monopoly. So the
Yep.
property owning game where you got to bankrupt your opponents. With each of mine, I wanted to give a little bit of history, some context here. So, this game officially came out in 1935, and today it's licensed in more than 113 countries. It's published in 46 different languages, and historically, Monopoly is traced all the way back to 1903 in what was called the landlord's game, which was designed to explain the single tax theory of Henry George. And for anybody that's listening, if you're like, what in the world does that mean? You're like me, because I had to Google it. And this is a theory that says that persons should own the value that they produce themselves, while the economic rent derived from land, including all natural resources, the commons, and urban locations, should belong equally to all members of society. So, pretty heady stuff. Why is it on my list? This is a game I remember from my childhood. Just playing with my family. Did those games drag on too long? Yes. Was it the
Yes.
cause of family disputes? Also, yes.
Yes.
But man, this is a game it can if you need to kill some time, it can take up a lot of time. My wife and I have played it extensively, and we've played this game with our daughter as well. I looked in my game closet before we recorded this episode this evening, and these are the versions of Monopoly in my closet. We have the Classic Edition, Electronic Banking Edition, the Here and Now version, the Toy Story version, and even a Fortnite version. So, for how many times I played this as a kid, the fact that I own so many copies of it had to be number five. Ben, I gotta ask this: does Monopoly make your list somewhere today?
Not today, but
Okay,
man, I spent hours playing this game with my family growing up. We still own multiple copies of Monopoly because you must do that.
exactly.
But yeah, we have Star Wars, NASCAR. Oh goodness, we have several copies of it. But I have to ask you, did you all do any house rules like the free parking money thing? Did you do that?
Is that a house rule? I thought that.
It is.
Okay, so yeah, we probably did, and their rules I've just kept throughout my adult life.
Yeah,
So
we did too. We and then I found out later on, wait, that's not in the actual rule book.
it's funny. I don't know if I've read the actual rule book as an adult. Like I've just continued with the rules that I grew up with. So I am sure we probably are playing completely different than you're supposed to when it comes to Monopoly. Ben, I do have to ask before we move into our number fours with Monopoly, your favorite piece. Like what do you use? What's your go-to for going around the board?
Definitely the thimble.
Okay. See, I'm not a thimble guy. I loved the car because there was just something flashy about it.
Sure.
And for anybody that's listening to this podcast, I'm a fan of flashy things. I like hip hop music. I like the cars and hip hop videos. So the car for me is what drove it home. But that's my number 5. Ben, I'm gonna kick it back to you. What was your number 4 on your list this evening?
Okay, my number 4 is a game called The Quest for El Dorado.
Okay.
So this is a game for 2 to 4 players. You're racing through the jungles and you're trying to make it to the legendary golden city of El Dorado. Now you're not rolling dice. The movement is all done with a deck of cards, and it's a deck building game. And so you're going to start with a small hand of just basic cards. They're pretty weak, but as you go through the jungle, you can stop at the market and purchase cards that then make your deck stronger as you go. And some spaces make you discard cards or remove them entirely from the game, which sounds bad, but it's actually something you want to do because it slims your deck and makes it stronger if you
Mhm.
can get rid of those weaker cards. But this one is super exciting. It accelerates really nicely because by the end, everyone has these strong cards, and you never know when they're going to come out of your deck. And you're really hoping for them to come out this turn so you can pass this other person or block them at the pass. It's really well designed. And this is my favorite game from a German designer named Rainer Knizia, and he's probably the most prolific designer of all time. He's probably has hundreds of games to his credit online. But surprisingly, this one's not really derivative of any of his previous games, because one thing
Mhm.
he's also known for is just kind of reskinning or reimagining some of his older games with and just putting a new theme on them or something. But this one feels really fresh, even considering his huge catalog of work. But it's just always exciting. It's always variable, and I just love how that deck building aspect boosts it for me. And one cool thing about the market that I've never seen before is when you go to purchase a card, you have limited options, but once someone takes the last card in a stack, you're then opened up to the whole market behind it of like, I don't know, 18 to 20
Mhm.
types of cards. But then once someone purchases that, it fills that slot then for the next 3 or 4 cards. And so it has this really cool balance of not being overwhelmed by options.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really cool mechanism, I thought. But I just love this one. This is one of those where at first I was like, this is good, but then after the 5th play, I was like, "This is great," and then after, like, the 10th play, it's one of my favorites now, so it's really cool how it's grown on me, but yeah, that's Quest for El Dorado. Check it
I
out.
Another game I have not heard of. I do have to ask, is this does it have, like, some historical I mean, are there, like, the historical tie-ins from El Dorado?
No. No, not
Okay.
really, it's just, yeah, it's not a deep theme, I wouldn't say. You're
Okay.
just it's
No,
yeah, you're just racing through the jungle.
I ask because 'cause I'm a total nerd and a huge history buff, so, like, I if it had that, it was even gonna make it even something even more than I needed to go out there and pursue, but I've started a list in my phone bin, and, I'm already 2 games in now for your number 5 and number 4 of things I need to check out. So, my number 4 and, are you familiar with Boggle?
Oh, yeah, love it.
Okay, so I think Boggle's well known. I'm gonna give a little bit of an explanation if anybody's like, "What in the world is Boggle?" This game came about back in 1973. Users shake up, and I guess the best description, it's like a square or a grid of lettered dice, and they'll make different letters. Obviously, once the dice have set in place, and you have to create all the words that you can find by stringing together letters that touch. And at least in my house, you only get credit for words that no one else found. According to a little online research that I did, you can actually create a 17 letter word, such as quadricentennials, and I am a huge fan of word based games. I'm admittedly not good at a lot of board games. While I love them, I struggle with a lot of board games, but word games are my thing. So that's why this one ranks high on the list for me. This is a game we own in my house. I think we played it probably sometime earlier this year. I honestly don't believe I have taken an L in this game since I got married back in 2008. So if anyone wants to challenge me, I'm up for it. To quote Habib Nurmagomedov, send me location, I'm down, let's do this. So for just how much I love word games, Boggle's my number 4. Ben, is Boggle anywhere on your list today?
No, but this is another one I've spent hours playing, and
Okay.
I'll take you up on the challenge. and meet somewhere and play it because I also I love the just the mad dash of writing sounds that you
Yes.
hear during the whatever 2 minutes that you have
Uh-huh.
to
It's
make your words. I love it.
I love word games. There was one on Facebook when I was, I think, in college. I don't even remember what the word game was, but that was an obsession I had where you could challenge like your friends on Facebook. And word games for me are by far my favorite. Like I absolutely just love them. But Ben, I'll stop gushing over word games. What was your number three on your list this evening?
My number 3 used to be my number 1 for many years, but it's called Betrayal at House on the Hill. This one is very, very thematic, like a Halloween themed game. It's cooperative, at least until later. So this is a story-driven adventure that's set in a weird haunted house that's just filled to the brim with pretty much every horror movie trope that you can think of. And in the first act of the game, everyone's working together to explore the rooms, and you're going to have these scary encounters and items that you can pick up along the way and creepy events that happen. But then, at a certain point that's unforeseen to the group, the haunt will begin. And what's called the haunt is where you find out that one of you has, become a traitor, and everyone else becomes then the heroes that you then have to work together to defeat this traitor. It's really, really cool. A lot of my favorite memories of just gaming in general come from playing Betrayal. You know, because I remember one time we were staying up in on the Lake Superior in Michigan, and it was a
Yeah.
foggy night, and you could hear the water against the shore, and we had candles lit, and we were just like really getting into the spirit of it, and just it's great for that kind of campy, atmospheric, scary night sort of
Yeah.
experience. But yeah, it just screams imagination. There's 50 different scenarios that you can encounter as well, just depending on which room you start the haunt in and with which item. So there's a lot of variability there, and you never know what to expect. But this is really I guess I have some personal bias with this one because I would consider this as the game that got me into kind of your more obscure, hobby
Okay.
type board games when I played this for the first time. I don't know, 20 years ago or so. It's been around a while now, but yeah, this used to be my number one for a very long time. I still love it. It's imperfect. You're gonna get duds sometimes, but when this game is good, it's like one of the best. And so I still love Betrayal. I'll always love Betrayal. It's great.
So, Ben, I've never heard of this game, but you have sold me on this. You sold me from the moment that you talked about it being in a haunted house. I am a fan of everything horror. We've done an episode previously where we talked about our top five horror movies. I'm obsessed with horror. You had me at horror tropes. This is one I just put a note in my phone that I need to find this immediately because I am here for all of it. Like this is I'm going to be very curious to see what made your number two and number one because this sounds phenomenal. So I do have a question. Is this a game you can play with a kid or is it more geared towards just adults?
It's not adult, but I would say maybe older kids.
Okay.
You know,
I was gonna say my daughter turns 12 soon, so I was 12-year-old. Could I swing it with a 12-year-old?
I think so. I mean, I think
Okay.
that's on the cusp of the content here. There's nothing
Okay.
too crazy here.
Well, yeah, that is a really good one. I had not heard of it, and I'm glad that I have. My number three, I'm going another word game here, and this is Scattergories, and we're talking 1988, another word style game. With this one, you roll a large dice. There's a bunch of letters on the dice, and whatever letter pops up is the letter that you have to use to answer the 12 topics on a sheet of paper. And those topics might be something as random as name something yellow, name a state, or anything in between. And unique answers are the only ones that get points. And if you can use multiple words in an answer, you get multiple points. For example, if you roll a C and the item says name a president and you rock a Calvin Coolidge, you take home 2 points instead of just the one. I did not know this, even though I've played this game numerous times, that the dice actually omits the letters Q, U, V, X, Y, and Z, because obviously those would be very hard words or very hard letters to start with. This is one that I played, I think, a bit as a kid, but it's more of a bigger staple in my house now. Ben, is this a game that you've played? I know you're the board game guy. Is this one you're familiar with?
Yeah. Yeah, we've played this several times before. That's one of the best dice in gaming is just the letter die.
It is. It is. So this is probably my daughter's favorite board game. We play this thing all the time. It gets very competitive in my house. This is one where there's quite frequently a different champion each time we play. As I mentioned on my number four with Boggle, I'm just a huge fan of word based games, and I love the
Mm.
creativity of this one. I love that people can come up with the most random and eccentric answers, and I'm here for all of it. Ben, you talked about like house rules earlier. We really don't have rules in my house with this game. We kind of say the more creative you can get, the better. So this is one that ranked up high for me. I'm assuming this is one that's not on your list. Am I correct?
No, I don't think we have any crossovers today, but that's
Okay.
why I love this.
Okay, no, I'm down with it. Like I said, I'm learning a lot of new games that I need to try out. With that, what's your number two? Hit me with another game that I need to put in this note on my phone.
Well, I wanted to say for categories,
Yeah.
one thing I love is the creativity of the fact that you get bonus points
Hmm.
for like alliterative answers for using the letter
Yes.
as much as you can.
Yep.
And I take it, but you were saying like we don't have rules. Do you all like encourage the answers like um 5 fast French fries or something if you get F? Like as crazy as you can get, like is that acceptable or do you draw the line somewhere?
um, we, especially with my daughter, as she's learned to play, we've been very loose with her answer. She's gonna listen to this and get
Yeah,
mad because she comes on the podcast quite a bit. So we're very loose with her answers. My wife and I play it a little bit more closer to the rules, if that makes sense.
sure. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
What about you? Do you allow like that type of
It's like a balance, right?
Yeah.
We definitely reward really good, creative answers like that. I think you
Okay.
have to at
Yeah,
some point,
absolutely.
especially, with what that game's trying to be.
Mhm.
It'd almost be weird to be super draconian about it. But
That's true. That's true. Well, Ben, what's your number 2 game?
my number two is probably like the gameriest game that I have today. And this is
Okay.
called The Castles of Burgundy. And this
Castles of
one
Burgundy, okay.
is not going to jump out at you on the shelf, but I did get the big old deluxe edition of this as kind of a gift to ourselves for me and the wife. It's
Alright.
still by far the most expensive game I've ever bought. In fact, a lot of the games I get are just secondhand or something that I find. But if you look at just the regular edition of Castles of Burgundy, you are not going to be impressed by its aesthetics. Like, you're probably going to come away with it thinking it's a bit brown heavy. The board kind of looks overwhelming the first time you
Mhm.
see it, but the game is absolutely fantastic. And it's what's called a Euro style strategy game. The Euro game really kind of got its roots when, if you've heard of Settlers of Catan,
Yeah,
when that
yeah.
first came over to the States back in the day, but it's a strategy game where you're building settlements in medieval France. And you're taking these tiles from the depots and you're building your own estate, really. And in order to do anything, though, you have to match what you roll on these two dice with the actions that you want to do. And I think that's part of why I like this so much is that you can have an overall strategy, but you also just have to be reactive and tactical with it because sometimes you're going to get a roll that's just really weird, when you compare it to what you want to do. But one thing that's cool is that you can manipulate the dice a little bit with these workers
Mhm.
that you get. But workers are finite, so you got to just use them wisely. But the game goes through several rounds. You build your estate, you sell these goods, you get silver, and it's just whoever has the most victory points at the end is the winner. Again, it's not like a looker, but it just works like a well oiled machine. It's so elegant. The dynamics of kind of, do you neglect some things or do you concentrate on other
Mhm.
things and just how many different avenues to victory that there are. I like all the options that are at your disposal. And again, it's just like sometimes you just have to be okay with changing your plan. And I like that braininess of it, and it keeps you on your toes that way. You can't just sit back and resign yourself to a certain strategy. So I don't know. I kind of find that I struggle to adequately describe why I like it so much, but I think it's a satisfying game to the
Yeah.
brain. It's smooth, it's fluid, it's an elegant design. It's always interesting. And so, especially now that we have this big deluxified copy that Awaken Realms, they did like a Kickstarter for this a couple years ago. Now that we have that, the dullness is not a factor anymore. It's actually like a really beautiful production. Yeah, there's a lot of depth there. And my wife doesn't always gravitate toward those strategy games like
Mhm.
I do. Sometimes I have to just, surrender like, okay, she's not going to want to play this in this game with me. But for some reason, this one just has been a hit ever since she first learned it. This is one that we love to play together as a couple. So this is one where it's like if you're just, you and your spouse and you want kind of a thinky experience and a good strategy game, I would definitely go for Castles of Burgundy.
Well, Ben, I have 2 follow-ups for you if you don't mind. So one, some of these I'm pulling them up because I'm trying to follow along with the pictures you're describing. Um, it's 15th century France is what this is set in, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I would be down with that because again, a history nerd, love that type of stuff. Number 2, I gotta ask because you mentioned it. How much was this deluxe edition? You said it's the most expensive
Oh
you've
man,
paid or
yeah,
spent.
I think it was about
Oh
$200.
my goodness.
Yes, sir. This was a special gift for me and the wife for sure.
No, I can get down with it. Because I was looking and I'm like, okay, I'm seeing like 45, like 50. I saw one that was like 63, but I see what you're talking about with the like kind of the color schemes off of the, I guess like the original or just the traditional version of the game. But no,
Yeah.
again, sounds like a cool game. I love that our lists are going two totally different places.
Oh
Yours are
yeah,
more of
same.
like this adventure style, and I'm not unique at all. And I'm like, Monopoly, like, it's my list. So I'm gonna go with another non-unique one for number 2 here, and Yahtzee is my number 2
Yes.
game all time. You're a Yahtzee fan, right?
Oh yes, we just played actually 2 days ago. I played with my son.
Okay, so I like it. You're gonna hear in a moment how often I play Yahtzee, and it's disturbing. But for anybody that is wanting a little history on Yahtzee here, we're talking all the way back in 1956. I don't feel like I got to explain what Yahtzee is. I think everybody knows that game. But the game was actually created in 1954 by a wealthy Canadian couple who played it on their boat, and they called it the yacht game. So it's Yahtzee. Edwin S. Lowe bought the rights for 1,000 gift sets after the creator's friends became addicted to it, and today more than 50 million games of Yahtzee are sold annually worldwide. So Yahtzee for me, number one, pure nostalgia. When I was growing up, one of my grandmothers, I just remember her sitting with a Dr. Pepper in front of her, and we're just rolling dice on the table playing Yahtzee. She was big on card games, board games, but that was the one that I had the best memories of. And I've continued my love for Yahtzee the older I've gotten. My wife and daughter, admittedly, are not big fans of this game. But what I love, and Ben, I'll be curious if you enjoy this aspect of it as well. I like that Yahtzee's a game that you can play with a group or you can play it solo. Is Yahtzee something you've just played some rounds, solo before, Ben?
Not Yahtzee, but there's a few other roll and write games that are similar
Okay.
to how that works that I've absolutely played solo, and I can see how that would be great. And I can relate so hard to what you're saying as far as like just playing this with your grandma or
Yeah.
something. I've had so many great memories just, over cups of coffee or something. I thought I was
Mhm.
super cool as like a 10-year-old having coffee, drinking coffee, with my relatives and stuff and playing games like Yahtzee. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned it. It's a lot of these dice game. Well, some of them you can run the game solo, and I look at it like golfing or running. I was a runner growing up, and running was something you could go out and you could do by yourself, and you're competing against the clock. You're competing against your best time. And that's how Yahtzee is for me. It is a complete competition of what is my best score through all 6 rounds. So I said I was going to admit how often I play. I think I played, it actually has been about a month since the last time I played Yahtzee, but in like October and November of 2025, I got on this kick. I think it may have even continued through December, where I played a solo game of Yahtzee at least once a day, and we're talking all 6
Oh
rounds
wow.
because I'm a total
All six
weirdo.
too.
Yeah, and my best score, I think, was like 1785 or something for the 6 rounds. I had it on a dry erase board in my kitchen. My wife was like, "Why is this like this board that's supposed to be for our groceries?" I had these giant numbers, and through those months, I was trying to see if I could beat my score. So I'm a total nerd. I love playing Yahtzee solo. Actually, I prefer it that way versus now playing it with a group of
Wow. Okay.
people. But this one's an OG game for me. Ben has now questioned his life choices for coming on here after hearing my Yahtzee obsession, and I'm sorry for that.
No, 100% not. No, the again, like, it's you're picking every if I listed, like, top 10 games that I've played the most hours
Yeah.
at, pretty much all your selections would be on there,
Okay.
especially Yahtzee, Monopoly, even
Yeah.
Boggle. I mean, these are all things that I've loved my whole life. So, yeah, this is good stuff. I Now here's something interesting that we used to do, and I don't know where this idea came from. I feel like maybe it was my sister, but we used to, do like either the 3 game thing or the 6 game thing,
Mhm.
but then maybe one of them would be you have to go down starting at the top all the way to the bottom.
Oh, so you're
So,
saying,
like, you
like, you
have to start on ones, and then you have
yes.
to do 2, right?
Ooh, I
I
like
mean, in a
that.
way, it kind of takes away a lot of the decision making, so maybe
Mhm.
it's not as good, but I remember that being at least an interesting variant. Have you ever done that?
I have not. I'm really bad about, though, anytime I get a Yahtzee, I yell like I just won the national championship, and my wife detests it because I will and she'll go and, like, hide in a different room, and then I will come into that room just to yell Yahtzee and then walk back out. So, haven't played by those rules, but I have used Yahtzee to just harass my wife and drive her insane. So, that's where we're at this point in our marriage. So,
I mean,
well,
I love how it's always special. It's like there's the Yahtzee, what, every 2 or 3 games or something, but every time it happens, it's like this huge thing.
uh-huh. Yeah, oh, it's and it should be celebrated. It's a big event.
Yes.
Well, Ben, I'm very curious to hear what is your number 1 game? I know you said it used to be the and I'm gonna mess up the name, but the haunted house game. What's your number
Yeah,
1 now?
Betrayal. So my number 1 that dethroned it a couple years ago, this one's a fairly new game, but this one is called Earth. That's it.
Okay.
It's called Earth. And in Earth, you are building this huge ecosystem of plants, and you have terrains and climates and animals. This one is like the ultimate nature game. Your area keeps growing as you establish like your soil, you plant sprouts, you grow your trees, and it has these really nice stackable wooden
Mhm.
stalks for the trees and for all the plants. And it's everything from fungi to flowers to fruit trees. And you have 4 main actions to choose from on your turn. But what I really like is that everyone is involved on every turn. It's not just this thing where, okay, I'm going to sit and think and pick my action and you wait for me. So, whatever I pick, everyone else gets kind of a minor version of that same action. And everything is simultaneous, which is nice. So, you kind of limit the amount of time that you're just waiting on someone. And then all the cards that match the color of the action that you do then trigger their abilities. So depending on, how you build your ecosystem and the more and
Mhm.
more you go in the game and get closer to the end, there's a lot of opportunity for triggering these really interesting combos and just really deep decision making, which if you haven't guessed yet, this is what I draw to a lot is these, brainy, puzzly games that have a lot of interesting decisions and stuff.
Yeah.
And this is one of those rare games that is so enjoyable for me in the actual playing of it that even if I lose, it just still feels great. It still feels satisfying that I've kind of put a lot of thought into this little world that I've built just here tonight playing this game and with this pleasant, vibrant look of it all. And the cards in the game, and by the way, there's tons and tons of different cards. So much that even though you do go through quite a few cards in the game, you feel like you've only, scratched the surface and
Yeah.
you still have this big deck sitting over there that you didn't even see during that game. But all the cards have this really wonderful natural photography on them. The whole production is just top notch. Now there is a bit of a learning curve with this one, probably
Mhm.
even a little bit more than the Castles of Burgundy, but it's really rewarding once you dive into it, and you're no longer referring to the rule book like every 5 minutes. And this is one I'm not actually sure I would have gravitated toward as much maybe 20 years ago, but just after, playing hundreds and hundreds of games and being kind of a part of this hobby and getting used to how some of these mechanisms work, it all just kind of started to feel more natural and familiar to me. So it really wasn't that bad, but I could see how someone who, is just jumping into this sort of thing, it would be a little bit of a learning curve. But that's partly why I love, teaching games too, is,
Yeah.
to try to figure out the best way to distill some of these things and kind of come at it by, hey, here's the theme. And here's why it's cool, and not just like going into some really dry explanation first.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one's great. If it's not obvious too, one thing I really like about games is variability.
Mhm.
Whether that's like tile laying or exploring. Yeah, as you said, adventurous sort of games. I love
Yeah.
that. I love games that have like modular boards where it's like, every time it's going to be slightly different or have different cards out at the beginning of the game every time, that sort of thing. I think that adds maybe to the replayability of games that I love being able to
Yeah.
come back to it and have a different experience every time. So, yeah, at least right now, as of today in 2026, I would say Earth is my number one game.
Well, it's interesting. I've been pulling up pictures while you've been talking about it, and I see what you're talking about with the aesthetics of the game. Like just the pieces, like the little, like the trees and the plants you're
Yeah.
building look really cool. A lot of really good color scheme to it. This is one I'm
Mhm.
gonna have to check out because one, it just looks really cool, and two, my daughter is a huge like nature animal. I guess the best
Mhm.
word would be like enthusiast, and so she would totally be down with the vibes of this game, and yeah, definitely. So like you've given me 5 games I've got to check out now, and I'm getting ready to go
Great.
into my number one. And I don't think you're gonna have to check this out because this is probably like one of the most well-known games of all time. And my number one goes by a lot of names. 4 Up, Plot 4, Find 4, Captain's Mistress. Never heard somebody call it that. That's according to Google. 4 in a row or Drop 4, or as I've always called it, Connect 4. And this game started being sold back in 1974. Here's some random facts here about my number one before I get into why it's my number one. There are actually 4.5 trillion, that's with a T, board combinations that exist in Connect 4. In 1988, the game was mathematically solved by James Dow Allen and Victor Alice. They have figured out that if you start in the center column and play perfectly, you cannot lose the game.
Oh, wow.
Ben,
I
you've
didn't know
given
that
a
was
bunch.
solvable.
Yeah, it's so there is a strategy. Now, I did not look up
That's
the whole
crazy.
strategy,
Okay.
but Ben, you've given all these games that you like how there's different variations to them. Some of these games where maybe there's a learning curve. And I went with Connect 4 because number one, it's just so basic that you can't go wrong. It's
Mhm.
easy to teach a kid. I think my daughter started playing at like 4 years old. And I think it's something you can still enjoy as you get older. So I'll go into why this is a big one for me. And I'm going to sound like a total nerd here. But in my high school chemistry class, we had a Connect 4 league. And I mean a league. We're not talking like, oh, we were playing and competing. No, while our chemistry teacher was trying to teach us chemistry, we had created a bunch of paper versions of Connect 4 boards and we would pass them through the class. And we had like, we kept stats and records, like what your record was. Were you going to make the playoffs? There was a trophy that was involved with our championship.
My
And before
gosh.
anybody says, like, oh, okay, this is like Stranger Things, the Dungeons and Dragons Club, this involved like every kid from every walk of life in our chemistry class. You had the non athletes, we had members from the football team, the basketball team, the cross country team, and so on. And one, this explains why none of us went on to be chemists because none of us were paying attention. But number two, it
Huh.
just instilled my love. And I love this game so much that one of my wife's family members bought me the Ohio State version of Connect 4, where it looks like the horseshoe when you're playing. It's just
Okay.
such a simple game. I love that arcades have versions of it. I think I was at Great Wolf and they've got the electronic version. There's a basketball version, which, hey, you're taking one of my favorite
Yes.
sports and putting it
I'm
with
glad you
Connect
mentioned
4.
that. I was gonna mention that if you didn't.
Yeah,
That
so
that
it's
was super fun. We did that at Dave& and Buster's
yeah, so it's
recently.
just it's a lot of fun. It's easy to do. It can be a short, simple game, and for me, that's why it's my number one. Ben, it sounds like you're a fan of Connect 4 as well?
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. We own one. I love playing it with the kids. That's one of those like Yahtzee. It's like that's a ubiquitous game
Mhm.
that everyone I feel like knows it. They've enjoyed it. And yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the basketball one. That was probably my favorite version of it that I've ever played for sure. But there's also a ping pong bouncy one too. I don't know if
Oh,
you played that.
I have not played that one. Is that at Dave&
Connect
and
Four
Buster's as well?
Shots. Yeah, it's called Connect Four Shots. You bounce ping pong balls into the grid there. So
So my dad, he comes on this podcast sometimes. My dad listens. He's going to dispute what I'm about to say, but he's wrong. My dad and I, we played the Basketball Connect 4 game. I think it was at Great Wolf back in 2025, and my dad got smoked. Like he got destroyed. So for all the people that know my dad, I want to put that out into the ether. I want to put that out for everybody for record keeping purposes. He got destroyed by me in Basketball Connect 4. So Connect
And he said it
4
was the
just
luck of the bounce, right?
he said a lot of things. He'll probably claim it didn't happen. Dad, you know it did. You know what happened. One of the things I am surprised about is that we left a ton of classics off the table here. Are you a fan of like checkers and chess?
Yeah, I was in chess club for several years when I was a
Okay.
kid. I love chess. As far as an older game, everybody knows chess. As far as an older game, I would say that maybe a lot of people aren't familiar with is cribbage. Yeah, so this one, it's a card game, but it has this wooden board that you keep score with these pegs. And so the cards work together in interesting ways. So it's kind of a little bit of rummy. There's a lot of math involved, and you're kind of counting back and forth to try to get to 31 is one
Yeah.
phase of the round, but it's super cool. It's designed in the 1800s. That was one along with, Yahtzee that I remember playing a lot with my relatives was cribbage. So,
Ben, I really appreciate you jumping on here with me today. Um, as we mentioned at the beginning of the episode, Ben is the board game guru. He's got a blog. You need to check it out. If you didn't get enough with just hearing his 5 items on the list today, check out his blog so you can see his 100 board games. I'll link his blog in the episode description. You'll also see it on our Facebook post and on our Instagram post as well. As I always say, thank you all for tuning into the podcast. If you haven't done so yet, like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, refer somebody else to come check this thing out. If you have a topic you'd like to hear covered on the podcast, or you have a person that you'd like to hear featured, send those suggestions in. Those suggestions can be sent to generationalfave5@gmail.com. That's generational, FAVE, the number 5 at gmail.com. Thank you all for tuning in.